Hey guys, it's Story. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be going over the worst or most disappointing books of 2020. Sorry for the lighting, it's gloomy outside so I have to use my lights, but welcome to the end of the year. It's finally the end of 2020. So just a quick obvious disclaimer, I'm going to be talking about books I did not like this year, books that were the worst books of the year for me. These are 1 and 2 star. They might be ones that you really liked. We all have different reading tastes. We like books that other people don't like. We don't like books that other people like. And if we can all come to that conclusion together, it's not a big deal. You know, they're just books. Read what you want to read. It's fine. It's fine. The equivalent of this video is the best books of 2020, which I have already uploaded here on my channel about a month back. I will link it down below and put a card up here. For that video, I basically did my favorite books of the year. I did not rank them, so there will be another video coming that is my actual like top 5 best books of the year that I will have linked down below as soon as it's posted. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. I don't have any of these books because I got rid of them, or they were just audiobooks. Actually, I think the majority of these books were audiobooks, and that should probably say something in and of itself because 5 of these 6 books, I think it was, were audiobooks, and only 2 of the 6 books that were my best books of the year were audiobooks, so I'm just not an audiobook person, I guess. Without wasting any time, let's start off strong and just get into the worst book of the year for me, and that is The Kissing Game. I don't even know who wrote this book. I think his name is Jean or Jean. It might be a British or French author because in the audiobook all of the characters were British, but this book is only like 3 hours long or something like that as an audiobook, and just don't read it. If you're trying to hit a goal, if you're trying to complete a prompt, just don't use this book for that because it's really bad. Basically, there's this young boy, I think he's in middle school or something like that, and he is trying to get his first kiss, so he decides to go through the alphabet and choose a girl with the first name of each letter in the alphabet to get them to kiss him so he can have his first kiss. He's a horrible person, just a horrible person. He's definitely like a middle school boy that just doesn't know what he's doing or what life is, and yeah, it's just really bad. There's no plot at all. The characters are bad. It just makes you angry, and I'm not going to talk about it any more than that because like I said, it was 3 hours long, so like what is there to talk about? Next is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelsey Barnhill or Casey Barnhill, something like that. I know a lot of people really like this book, especially middle grade readers, but I did not. I'm not a middle grade person, and I actually didn't know this book was middle grade. So that part is entirely my fault, but basically this book reads as a fairy tale. So if you are not a person that likes to read fairy tales like myself, then you're not gonna like this. I really like lyrical or dreamy writing, kind of like Laini Taylor-esque writing, but her writing, for example, is so much more complex, and when it comes to middle grade, I just get so bored. I wasn't attached to any of the characters. The plot was very boring. I am a entertainment reader. I read for entertainment, so if I get bored, I do not like a book. If nothing happens in a book, then I'm going to rate it 1 star. Like, I need something to happen. Not to say nothing happened in this book, but just in general. That's just me as a reader. I thought this book was super silly. It wasn't interesting to me. The world was very like underdeveloped and bland, and nothing made sense. It was almost kind of magical realism, but not the type of magical realism I like. It's just an uninteresting fairy tale. I know this is a lot of people's favorite middle grade novel though, so I'm sorry. It's probably just me. Next is In 5 Years by another author. I'm obviously really great with authors. When I don't like the books, I just completely forget about the book, in all honesty. I just don't care anymore. So this book is a contemporary romance where the main character has some sort of dream or premonition, it's not even explained in the book, where she sees herself in 5 years, but everything is different. She's in a different apartment. She's with a different guy. She was engaged to one guy, but now she's engaged to another guy. And when she spends this night 5 years later, she actually has sex with this guy. So she doesn't know what's going on, what has happened. She also feels guilty because she has essentially cheated on her boyfriend with this random stranger. The premise of this book in the beginning of it was so interesting to me, so intriguing. I thought this was going to be 5 out of 5 stars. I had never read a book like this where a person sees their future. I can't say too much because of spoilers, but don't read this book, please. Anyways, this was just a bad book. But she does meet this guy almost immediately after the dream, I think within a few months, but he he enters her life in a way she didn't expect, and she basically has to be around this guy even though she is happy with her fiance and with her career and her apartment and all that. And in the back of her head, she knows that she ends up being with this guy at some point. I wish I could tell you more because the things that happen in this book are just like I just don't know why the author chose to do what she did. I think she was just trying to be different from a normal contemporary romance, and it shows. Like, everything that happens in this book, every action is just the author trying to make this book different. Instead, it made it so unrealistic and weird and uninteresting and just not enjoyable. I got so mad at this book several times, and I hate reading a book where I'm just constantly mad at the characters and the plot, and I just really wanted to DNF this, but it wasn't a super long audiobook, so I stuck with it, and it's just not worth it. If there was a list for books that made me angry in 2020, this would be the only book on that list. I just can't. Ugh. Some things happen in this book that purely grossed me out with morals and all that. The characters just do morally bad things, and then it's just like brushed over. It's not even talked about, and everyone's just like happy, and it's like, what? That's weird. Like, that shouldn't happen. Anyways, I don't even know if I'm making sense at this point, but let's just go ahead to the next book. I forgot to mention my ratings for these books. So for The Kissing Game, I gave 1 star. The Girl Who Drank the Moon, I gave 1.5 stars, I believe. And then In 5 Years, I gave 2 stars. The only reason I gave the extra star was because I enjoyed the narrator. I felt like she kept me interested at times when like I was just so over this book. Just the way she narrated made me continue on with the book even though I hated it so much. Number 4 on this list, I'm sure is gonna make a lot of people mad, but there are 2 books on this list just because they're basically the same book in my mind, and that is books 2 and 3 of the Wayward Children series. So I read the first book in 2019, I think it was, and I enjoyed this book. It was okay. I gave it 3 stars, I believe, maybe 3.5. It was a very quick read and there wasn't really much wrong with it. I didn't think a lot happened. Again, I was a little bored. It was uninteresting, but you know, it wasn't bad, so I gave it 3 stars. The second book I gave 2 stars because why? What is that? And the third book I gave, I think, 2.5 or 3 stars because again, just like, I don't even know how to explain myself, but I don't understand the hype for this series at all. It's so boring to me. I feel like the author is really good at characters, but I just don't care for these characters. I see what she's doing where some books will follow a certain character and then the next book follows a different character and their worlds or dreamlands, whatever you want to call them. I just don't care. I don't know. It's just so boring to me and almost a little, it's so strange that it's like just weirdly unenjoyable. I don't get the hype for this series whatsoever. I did hear that if you like the first book but you don't like the second and third book, like in my case, then you will like the fourth book, but I'm not going to continue this series, unfortunately. Even if I did like the fourth book, I don't think I would go on to the next one. I am going to read Middle Game though, which is by this author as well. I've heard nothing but great things about this book, and I think it's more like up my alley. Number 5 goes to Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. So I love this author. I love her audiobooks. I gave The Poet X 4 out of 5 stars. I think it's like my 7th favorite book of the year or something like that. I wanted to read more from her, so I anticipated this book release and I read it as soon as it came out, or I listened to the audiobook as soon as it came out, and it just didn't live up to the hype of The Poet X for me. Unfortunately, I again was just very bored. I think this book is way too long. If it was something like 300 pages, then maybe I would have given it like 3 stars or something like that, but instead I gave it 2 stars. I really hated the dad and everything about the dad, and that is the main point to this book, other than the fact that you are constantly comparing the sisters and their lives and what they've been through and then finding each other and all that. Like, I did enjoy, I guess, that part, but their dad wasn't that great of a person, and they just talk about him as if he is this amazing guy. They all just love him so much. All of these females just love this horrible man so much, and I get that they're related to him, but he just didn't do anything good throughout the entire book when they're having flashbacks, and then he dies and everyone's just so obsessed with him. So it just made me very angry. It was never resolved. I thought maybe at the end of the book they would come to a realization that them being together and having each other was worth more than what their dad did to them and what situation he put them in, and that didn't happen at all. So I was very disappointed. Of course, Elizabeth Acevedo has beautiful writing. She's a beautiful poet. That's why I love her stuff, but yeah, I don't know. If she has more things come out, I'm definitely going to listen to them and give them a chance just to know, like, maybe her new stuff just isn't for me anymore, but I don't know. Just very disappointing compared to The Poet X. So since that was my top 5, this is basically an honorable mention, but I actually finished this book today. It is January 31st, and I finished it today, and that was Twice in a Blue Moon by Christina Lauren. So the first 2 books I listened from Christina Lauren are on my favorites list, but this book is on my least favorite list because it's nothing like her other books. I was very disappointed. I did not become attached to any of the characters. I didn't care about any of them. I did not care about the relationship, and I did not care about the family drama. And that's all the book is about, is the romance and the family drama. I just thought it was so boring and a bit unrealistic, kind of what happened. The main character has nothing else to her other than the fact that she has these daddy issues, and she thought this guy was so amazing, but like, why? I just don't get why he's so amazing. And yeah, I'm not gonna spend too much time on it. It's just not how the other Christina Lauren books are. The other ones I read were just so good, so I would definitely recommend those. So watch that video if you wanna know what those books are, but real quick before I go, I'm also going to mention Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. This was my least favorite book of 2019 actually, but I didn't film a best or worst books of 2019. I wasn't as active that year on BookTube, so I just want to mention it real quick because I talked quite a bit about it in my DNF video where I talk about the books I've DNF'd. I didn't DNF this book. I actually DNF'd it and then forced myself to finish it because someone told me they really liked it. This won so many awards. It was the most loved book of 2019 on like Goodreads and so many other platforms, and I just don't get it. This book is very boring. Our main character is obsessed with nature, so you learn a lot about nature. If you're not into that like me, then it's just boring. Like, I don't need to read a book about plants or like bugs and stuff. I don't care. And then the romance, I did not like the romance. Again, was bored by it. I wasn't attached to either of the characters. And this is marketed as a mystery. The main mystery in the book is barely talked about. It's not really a mystery. You're trying to figure out who killed him, but you don't even really get like clues, or no one even really talks about it. And of course the entire town thinks the main character killed the person, and I get what this book is trying to do, since she's like an outsider, but the book just wasn't good. It wasn't entertaining whatsoever. It was so boring. I hated my life reading it. It was way too long, and that's how I feel about that. And those were the worst books of 2020 for me, or at least the most disappointing. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. I know it's kind of a negative video, and I don't really like to do negative videos here on my channel, but I feel like I need to tell you which books I really disliked every year, because how am I a book reviewer if I don't do so? Right? Subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. I would really appreciate it if you feel like it, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!